I knew moving into an HOA-controlled neighborhood was a gamble, but I never expected to end up in a personal war with Karen, the self-appointed queen of the homeowners association. From the moment I moved in, she had a problem with everything. My lawn wasn't up to her standards, my porch light was too bright, and my welcome mat was too unwelcoming. But the real battle started when she pushed through a neighborhood-wide pet ban. Karen had convinced the HOA board that pets were a nuisance. Barking dogs, shedding cats, and even the occasional pet parrot that squawked obscenities were now strictly prohibited. She posted the new rule on every resident's door like it was the law of the land. No pets, no exceptions. What Karen didn't know was that I had an emotional support alligator named Reggie. Now, before you judge, Reggie wasn't some wild swamp monster. He was a legally registered emotional support animal, certified by my therapist after a particularly stressful year. Unlike the annoying yappy dogs Karen despised, Reggie was silent, low maintenance, and highly effective at keeping nosy neighbors away. The only problem? He was 4 feet long with a mouth full of razor-sharp teeth. The day after the pet ban was announced, Karen strutted onto my porch, clipboard in hand, ready to enforce her new dictatorship. "I assume you've gotten rid of any animals in your home?" she asked, tilting her nose up like she smelled something foul. I smiled and opened the door just enough for her to get a good look at Reggie lounging in my living room, his tail lazily swishing across the floor. Karen screamed and stumbled back, her clipboard clattering to the ground. What is that?" "That's Reggie," I said casually. "My emotional support alligator." You can't have an alligator in your house," she screeched. "The HOA rules." "Actually," I cut in, "the Americans with Disabilities Act protects emotional support animals. The HOA pet ban doesn't apply to registered ESAs. Reggie stays." Karen's face twisted like she had just swallowed a whole lemon. She turned bright red with frustration. "This isn't over," she spat before storming off. I closed the door, turned to Reggie, and gave him a thumbs up. "Nice work, buddy." Reggie blinked slowly. Little did I know, Karen was already plotting her next move, and she wasn't going down without a fight. Karen wasn't just mad, she was furious. From the moment she saw Reggie, she went on a one-woman warpath to get rid of him. The very next morning, I woke up to find a printed letter taped to my door, complete with the official HOA logo and way too many exclamation marks. Notice of violation. Residents are not allowed to keep exotic, dangerous, or unsanitary animals within the neighborhood. Failure to comply will result in fines, legal action, and possible eviction. HOA President, Karen. I laughed. Clearly, she hadn't done her homework. I grabbed a bright red marker, scrawled ESA protected by federal law across the letter, and taped it back onto my door. Just for fun, I attached a picture of Reggie wearing sunglasses. An hour later, Karen was at my door again, this time with backup a frazzled-looking HOA board member named Bob, who clearly didn't want to be there. "Do you seriously expect us to believe you have an alligator as an emotional support animal?" Karen huffed. Bob glanced at Reggie, who was lazily sprawled across the floor, chewing on a frozen chicken like it was a popsicle. His eyes went wide, and he took a step back. Bob cleared his throat. "Are you sure he's safe?" "As safe as any other emotional support animal," I said, shrugging. "Reggie doesn't bark, doesn't shed, and he definitely doesn't jump on people." Karen's eye twitched. "This is against the rules." "No, it isn't," I said, handing her a printed copy of federal ESA regulations. "You can't override federal law with HOA nonsense. Reggie is legally allowed to be here." Karen snatched the papers and crumpled them in her fist. "We'll see about that," she barked, storming off with Bob scrambling after her. The next escalation came that evening. I was relaxing on my porch with a cold drink while Reggie soaked in a kiddie pool on the lawn when a squad car pulled up. Oh, this was going to be good. A cop stepped out, Officer Martinez, a guy I had seen around the neighborhood a few times. He walked up, trying and failing not to stare at Reggie. Sir, we got a complaint about an unlicensed exotic animal? Let me guess, I said, pointing to Karen's house, where her blinds snapped shut like a cartoon villain's lair. Martinez sighed. Yeah, says there's a dangerous beast running loose. I gestured at Reggie, who was now floating peacefully, looking like an overgrown log with legs. Martinez scratched his head. This is an emotional support animal. Certified, I said, handing him Reggie's official paperwork. He skimmed through it, then let out a long sigh. Look, legally, you're in the clear. But are you sure this is safe? Safer than Karen's attitude, I said. Martinez chuckled. Yeah, can't argue with that. He turned toward Karen's house and raised his voice. Karen, stop wasting police time. A frustrated screech echoed from inside. Martinez shook his head, got back in his car, and left. The next morning, I found flyers plastered all over the neighborhood. Warning: a vicious alligator lives among U.S. For your safety, stay away from the dangerous beast at. I sighed, grabbed a marker, and edited every flyer to say, Warning: a vicious HOA Karen lives among U.S. For your sanity, stay away from. By noon, my flyers were way more popular than hers. Karen was losing and she knew it. Now, she was desperate, and desperate Karens make very bad decisions. Karen was getting desperate. Her ridiculous flyers had backfired, the cops wouldn't help her, and the HOA board was getting tired of her antics. But instead of giving up, she did what all unhinged HOA dictators do when backed into a corner. She went nuclear. It started early in the morning. I stepped outside to grab my mail and immediately noticed something was off. For one, Reggie's kiddie pool was gone. I looked around, no sign of it. That thing wasn't light, and it definitely didn't just walk away. Then, I saw the freshly dug hole in my lawn. And next to it, a single, gator-shaped footprint. I felt my stomach drop. Reggie, I called. No response. I called again, whistling like I usually did when it was time for his snack. Nothing. Reggie was missing. I took a deep breath, turned toward Karen's house, and marched right over. I didn't even have to knock. She was already waiting on her porch, grinning like a villain in a soap opera. Oh, what a shame, she said, fake pouting. Looks like your support animal ran away. Guess wild animals don't belong in a neighborhood after all. I clenched my jaw. Where is he, Karen? She shrugged, eyes twinkling with malice. I have no idea what you're talking about. She was way too smug. There was no way Reggie just disappeared on his own. That's when I heard a muffled splash. I turned toward Karen's backyard. She saw me looking and immediately panicked. You can't go back there. That's private property. I ignored her and walked around the house. The moment I stepped into her backyard, I burst out laughing. There, in the middle of her fancy koi pond, was Reggie floating like a king, happily gulping down her expensive imported fish. Karen's koi pond had just turned into a gator buffet. Reggie, she shrieked, get out of there. Reggie, being the polite gator he was, ignored her completely and continued his all-you-can-eat feast. Oh, this is rich, I said, pulling out my phone to record everything. You kidnapped my alligator, and now he's ruining your precious pond? Karma's fast, huh? Karen stomped her foot. This is an outrage. I'm calling the police. I smirked. Oh, you mean the same cops who told you he was completely legal? Or are you going to tell them you stole my emotional support animal? Her face turned the exact shade of a boiled lobster. This isn't over, she screamed, running inside her house. I turned back to Reggie. All right, buddy. Let's get you home before you eat Karen's entire koi collection. I reached into my pocket, pulled out a raw chicken leg, and waved it in the air. Reggie immediately perked up. Come on, Pal, let's go. He gracefully climbed out of the pond, shook himself off, and followed me home like a well-trained dog. Karen was losing it. But she wasn't done yet. No, her next move was her dumbest one yet. Karen had officially lost her last brain cell. Stealing Reggie didn't work. Calling the cops didn't work. Posting flyers didn't work. So, in true unhinged HOA dictator fashion, she decided to handle the problem herself. And by handle, I mean she tried to break into my house and kidnap Reggie. It happened around midnight. I was sitting on the couch, watching TV, with Reggie snoozing nearby like a giant scaly cat. Suddenly, I heard rustling outside. At first, I thought it was just the wind. Then, I heard something clanking against the window. I grabbed my phone, tiptoed toward the noise, and peeked outside. And there she was. Karen, in full-on burglar mode. Dressed in all black, ski mask and everything. Holding a net. I had to slap a hand over my mouth to keep from laughing out loud. This woman was trying to trap an alligator like a stray cat. I hit record on my phone and silently watched the disaster unfold. Karen slowly opened the window, her hands shaking, and tried to sneak inside. Bad move. Because the moment she stepped inside, her foot landed in Reggie's water bowl. Splash. Karen let out a high-pitched squeal as freezing cold water soaked her shoe. Reggie? He woke up instantly. Imagine being an alligator, sleeping peacefully, dreaming about eating expensive koi fish, when suddenly some stranger stomps into your house at midnight. Reggie turned his head. His sleepy little alligator brain took a second to process the situation. Then he saw Karen. A strange human, holding a net. Reggie hissed. Karen froze. I swear, in that moment, you could actually see her soul leave her body. Then, Reggie started moving. Karen screamed so loudly I thought my windows would shatter. She threw the net in the air, turned, and ran for her life. Now, let me be clear, Reggie wasn't chasing her. Reggie was just stretching. But Karen, she saw her life flash before her eyes. She bolted toward the window, tripped over her own feet, and face-planted into my coffee table. Crash. By this point, I was crying from laughing so hard. Karen scrambled up, sprinted out the window, and vanished into the night like a deranged raccoon. I stopped the recording. I couldn't wait to post this online. But first, I had one last move to finish this once and for all. The next morning, Karen woke up to a fresh new flyer taped to every house in the neighborhood. Warning: HOA Karen is a burglar. Last night, she broke into my home and tried to kidnap my emotional support alligator. Here's the video for proof. Let's all make sure to keep our doors locked. By noon, the video had gone viral. By 3 p.m., the HOA board had called an emergency meeting. By 5 p.m., Karen was screaming in the streets, threatening to sue everyone in a 10-mile radius. And by sunset, the HOA had no choice but to take action. By the time the emergency HOA meeting rolled around, Karen was hanging by a thread. Her burglary attempt was the talk of the neighborhood. The video of her tripping over my coffee table and screaming like a banshee had gone viral. Even the local news station was asking for an interview. Karen, being Karen, refused to admit defeat. Instead, she stormed into the HOA meeting like an angry tornado, ready to defend her honor. The HOA board, who had tolerated Karen's nonsense for years, looked completely exhausted. Bob, the same board member who saw Reggie before, had bags under his eyes like he hadn't slept in a week. Karen slammed a stack of papers onto the table. I demand that the board ban all alligators immediately, she shrieked. Bob pinched the bridge of his nose. Karen, you broke into someone's house. I was protecting the community, she howled. Another board member, Linda, leaned forward. Karen, we saw the video. Karen's face twitched. That video was edited. Bob sighed. Karen, you literally posted a comment under the video threatening to sue for emotional distress. The whole room snickered. Karen turned bright red. WL, this is all his fault, she screeched, pointing at me. He's making a mockery of the HOA. He has an alligator. Bob rubbed his temples. Karen, we checked the federal laws. He's 100% allowed to have an emotional support alligator. You broke about 5 different laws last night. Karen froze. You've been harassing a resident, falsifying violations, wasting police time, and now breaking and entering? Linda added. This isn't just an HOA issue anymore. This is a police matter. Karen's eyes bulged. Why you wouldn't dare? Bob sighed, waved his hand, and 2 police officers stepped into the room. Karen's jaw hit the floor. Ma'am, one officer said, we'd like to have a word with you regarding last night's incident. Karen lost it. No, you can't do this to me. I am the HOA. But the officers didn't care. They cuffed her right then and there. Karen shrieked like a banshee, kicking and flailing, as the entire neighborhood watched in stunned silence. Finally, as she was dragged outside, Karen locked eyes with me. This is your fault, she screeched. I'll have my revenge, you hear me? I'll be back. I crossed my arms. Say hi to the koi fish for me. Her scream could probably be heard 3 towns over. With Karen officially out of power, the HOA board held a new vote. Not only did they remove her from her position, but they also voted to revise the HOA rules, including getting rid of her ridiculous pet ban. So now, the neighborhood was happier than ever. People got their dogs and cats back. HOA meetings were peaceful again. And best of all, Reggie became a local legend. Kids came by to say hi to him. A few neighbors even brought him treats. Someone made a custom mailbox with his face on it. And Karen? She was banned from the HOA permanently. A few weeks later, I got a postcard from an unknown sender. It was from Karen, postmarked from county jail. Scrawled in angry red ink, it read, I hate you, and your stupid alligator. I laughed, showed it to Reggie, and said, guess she's still thinking about you, buddy. Reggie blinked slowly and went back to chewing on a frozen chicken leg. Life was good. Like and subscribe for more videos like this.